We are good. All right, good evening, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everyone. So real quick, I want to address something. It came up the other day is the visitors guest list, which we have over here. Mr. Dyer is dutifully signing. Thank you, Mr. Dyer. We were asked about the district's policy for the visitor guest list. We looked into this. We do not have a formal policy for signing in on the visitors guest list. However, I've been here for 13 and a half years now, and we have always had a procedure where we ask all guests to sign in on said list. We will continue with that procedure. So if anyone here has not signed that list, please sign the guest list. With that being said, number 2, approval of the minutes from the 8/11/25 regular board meeting.
I move to approve the August 11th, 2025 school board minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 8/11/25 regular board meeting. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Prioritize the agenda. Mr. Drill.
Good evening. I think we can go right down the list. You probably want to confirm that Mr. Ramey can hear you.
Mr. Remy, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drill.
Yep. We can go right down the list.
Yep.
when
All
you're
right,
ready.
then that brings us to 4A, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Drill.
Good evening. Welcome, board members. Welcome to September, back to school. We started last Tuesday, and short of a minor fender bender with a grandma running into one of our buses, we have started out pretty well. So we got that figured out. By the way, none of the kids were injured, so it was all good. Grandma was fine too, so we're all good to go. Would like to just thank every staff member to getting us up and going. It's been a really good start. We talked about it today in our administrative team meeting. Felt like most things were working in the right direction. As always, 2,800 students and 355 employees, and double the amount of parents. And something's not quite 100% right, but it felt like lots of people stepped in wherever there was an issue and got it fixed. This morning was day 1 for kindergarten, right? We take the first week to do a lot of testing and checking in. And I didn't hear a lot of elementary principals or assistant principals talk about lots of crying. There was a little, but I'm just talking about the parents, not talking about the kids. So that happened, and we're working our way through that process. And so the kids are back in. We're going from there. I think we're in really good shape. As always, this time of year, I fill you in with numbers, and at the moment, Cascade School District is up in numbers by about 55 to 60 kids from a year ago. Please remember that last year we were down, so we're kind of going up and down a little bit. We did add a few more transfer students. Some people don't like to hear that, but we also lost transfer students. So in the end, we're actually behind a little bit. We had more students transfer out than in, which includes online school or homeschool. So when you add that all up, we're breaking about even. So right now, as of last Thursday, we show, I'm going to get it right, 2,814 students across the district. And that last year, this time, we were about at 20, that's about 80 more students than we had this time last year.
Mr. Drill, what's
Yeah.
our historical high?
We've been as high as 2,875
Okay.
2 years ago. What was our highest mark, and we went back down a little bit. Again, we held the line with transfers, and that, with the regular amount of students transferring out for their choices, and we let students go and do that. We dropped a little bit in funding because of that reason. We made our budget a little bit tighter. So we're trying to balance that out, and I think we found a good balance to that. Every school has slightly more students except for one, and that school only has 2 fewer than this time last year. So we worked out kind of finding that balance pretty well, I think. Any questions?
Kindergarten?
Kindergarten, so
Concerned about the size?
yeah, so it is small again. It's about 174, 75 students across the district. That is again low. So 3 years ago, we actually had numbers that every class had at least 200 students in it. This year now our first grade class has 185, 190, and our kindergarten class is about 175. So they're a little lower, but we also were told by the state of Oregon that the kindergartners are the COVID babies. That was the year 5 years ago. and where were fewer students all the way around. Or the state of Oregon's lost about 40,000 students since before COVID. Two reasons why. A number of people decided to try something different for education, but probably the biggest reason is there are fewer babies being born. That's a nationwide effect. So we recognize that as we're going along, so it's something to pay attention to along the way. It's much different than having like 245 or 50 in 5th grade and again in 9th grade. So those numbers look a bit different, but we will track it all the way through and we'll continue to give you updates. Other questions?
No, no, all right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Drill.
Thank you.
All right, going on, we've got the finance director's report. Mr., okay, is it Mr. Wong or Mr. Wang?
It's Wang.
Either way, in Chinese it's Wang, in
Okay. English
English it's Wen, so it's called perspectives.
What would you prefer?
I really don't. My wife called me Will. A lot of families in Arkansas, they will call me Wang. And whenever I get on a phone call with customer service, someone that I don't know, I go by Wen because it's easier for them to find actually my name. So,
Okay.
Mr.
That's a-
Wang.
That's a very clear non-answer. Thank you.
I learned that.
All right, well, thank you. Welcome.
Well, it's definitely great to be back here. I don't know how many of you can see this chart. So I would like to start with this chart. What I did is I pulled the last 5 years, every month, our ending cash number, and I put them into a chart. And a chart like this tells me school finance is very predictable, and you can forecast it if you do a good job. So a few numbers that from my analysis from this chart is, for example, FY25, in the last 5 years, we had the highest starting cash level. However, we ended in the lowest in the last 5 years. The challenge comes from the sub costs, the PERS in general. So what I would do throughout this school year is I will update this chart, and this chart will tell us, just you can easily look at it, where we are comparing the last 5 years. And the cost went up. For example, have PERS. It got significantly more expensive. You guys have heard this 100 times. And also, this year, our PACE, the insurance, 5 years ago, we paid PACE $180,000. Guess how much we paid this year?
$250.
$400.
Oh my gosh.
So
I was not expecting that.
I was not expecting that either. I called PACE. I said, "Are you sure this is our bill?" I said, "Yeah." Is there a way we can work something out? No.
Good try.
Anyway, so running a school is, as we all know, very expensive. And one of the largest school districts in Oregon, their salary percentage of their total revenue is about 90%. So they don't have a lot of wiggle. We're about 85, so we're good. For this year, we started about $2 million less than last year, as you can see from the number. And Mr. Drill and I, we already had a few conversations. We're watching this very carefully. We're on the same page of things that we need to be cautious, be aware. We had a lot of meetings about it. On this sheet, you can see that on the ending balance, it says we're reporting December. The reason is when the September payroll, I call it the first actual payroll hits. September, October, November, December, when these 4 payroll happens, get posted in our book, I'll have a very high chance to know how exactly the number of our ending balance. And I understand when Scott was here last year, the ending balance was lower than his projection because, all the sub costs and the other things. So my goal is by December, I'll give you an ending balance projection, and my goal is going to be very accurate because I will definitely have a very good idea after 4 payrolls. So that's kind of I try to maintain Scott format and change it a little bit, try to read this report. And at the same time, I'm preparing for our audit report for FY25. And my payroll lady had a small accident, so I was also getting ready to actually run the payroll myself for September. And I was working with Greg recently to prepare for a financial statement for our bond, potential bond in May. So that's the things that I've been working on. And I know you guys have a lot of questions. Go ahead.
All right, I'll start then. First, I love the chart. That's fabulous, thank you. Just to see the different years across on that graph is fabulous. The other request I have is on that PACE insurance policy.
Yes.
Can you send me a copy of that tomorrow?
Yes, sir. I was just wondering if you would like to see that.
I would love to, thank you.
And so by the time we actually do our next year budget, this is part of my budget book. And this is how I get to connect with Oregon people. This budget book won a national award. So I'm very excited to slowly present to you guys how I tell a good budget story and make sure that everyone in this room understand what exactly is happening every day. So I really appreciate your feedback on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Any thoughts? No? All right.
Just a quick comment, guys. So remember, our conversations around budget back in May and June was this idea that the PERS amount went up starting July 1. We clocked it right around $2 million more. And that's the state requirement for us to say, hey, this is how much more we're going to spend. And probably the biggest surprise for us was the amount of leave, right? So last year, new record for Cascade, where our employees had 27 babies last year. So we had lots of people out on that. And then the new leave requirements for the state of Oregon, right, allow for a lot more leave time. So instead of spending $550,000, we spent almost $1.8 million. So that was not budgeted for. So we made adjustments for the budget when you guys passed the budget here back in May, and then again in the final budget in June. But those are the adjustments. And then the chart that William has for you, please note that at May it goes down, way down in June. That's the 3 payrolls that we have to pay out for June, July, and August. That's why it drops like that.
Very
Okay.
steep because we don't. Yeah.
We're not getting anything in,
Right,
we're just
nothing
paying
in,
it
just
out.
Yeah.
So just FYI.
Mr. Drill, do you know off the top of your head of those 27 babies, are they all inter-district?
Gosh, I hope so. I hope so. Try to get as many people as I can, right? Yeah.
We had a conversation. We need to try to design some kind of incentive system to keep them because
Right.
there are revenues in
No,
5
you bet,
years.
You bet, everybody wins. It's
We
a
love
double
them.
win.
We think they're great, but it is revenue. So
Yeah,
you're just,
exactly, it's a double win.
exactly,
Yeah, I like it.
exactly.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Human Resources Director's Report. Mr. Weeks, welcome.
Thank you. Just kind of dovetailing on what we were just talking about there is some of the things we're working on right now is making sure our leaves are solid and where we're working on that with families and also then with our employees and making sure that those are there with that new paid leave Oregon, handling that with a lot of care. We want to make sure that our employees feel supported, but also the teams that are still here working to make sure they can still do the job as people step away. So working through that right now, working with both our certified and classified associations to make sure that we're building that connection as I'm new, having conversations with our presidents each way just to build those support networks between each other. Because when we are all on the same page, the organization is stronger for that. And the other piece that I was going to talk about today too is just really working, the neat thing about a district Cascade size, and I was just actually mentioning this today with a few employees, is we are large enough to have some resources, but we're small enough to be a family and know everybody by name. And that's a unique thing about a community like Cascade. So getting that opportunity to do that, one of my goals that I always do is I try to get it out to every new employee within the first 30 days and talk with them. Hey, how was your transition? How are you doing? What did it look like? Is there anything we can do in human resources to move something aside to help you be more successful? And try to build that bridge for them to be successful, but then also working with the principals too, going out, hey, how's your building going? How are things going for you? Who's been helpful for you in particular? Because one thing is when a principal can tell me, hey, this person's been helpful, if I can then thank that person for being helpful, that's a morale piece, and that's a big thing for the district too, because that just keeps building everybody up in the connections and that everybody matters. There's no position in our district that doesn't play a key pivotal role in the education and success of our kids. So making sure that we give that attention to everybody. So that's the focus of human resources, is just make sure we're getting out to do that this year.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to initiate these meetings? Are you going to run around and try to track down every person individually? Do you have like open house, hey, come in and say hello? I mean, I know people sometimes don't go out of their way, unfortunately, to see the HR person because sometimes that has a, oh, no,
Yep.
we want to avoid that. How do we change that stigma and get you either available or in front of these people so that they can get to know you better?
Absolutely. One of the first things is I can't be in the building just when there's an issue.
Right.
I have to be around at other times. I just had an opportunity to walk through some buildings last week. Just walked through with the principal.
Nice.
Nothing else other than doing that. I didn't really talk to anybody other than just kind of, hi, nice to meet you, walk through some areas and did that. But then also with these, I sent an email out to them, told them on new hire day too. I mean, you're going to get an email from me. In the first 30 days, it's going to be set up just a time to talk. Told them similar to what I'm telling you now. And that way, then when they know that email comes in, it's not a thing of HR's trying to
Right,
just
right,
meet with
right.
them.
Yeah.
So front load it ahead of time, but then come in and do that with them, on that back end and have that conversation with them. And then I do that again at the end of the year. How did the year actually go at the end? Were we able to do that? One of the things we want to do is be able to, like I said, just walk through, people see it, get to know you, and know that you're not necessarily coming in for just all the bad and the wrong reasons when you're out and about. And that's one of the things too, is when you round with it's called rounding, and when I round with the principals and do that opportunity to be in the building and do that there too. Because again, then you're there and you're not there, to be a hammer or, to
Right.
get, for negative reasons.
Right.
You're there to help the betterment of the district.
Wonderful.
Like that.
Like it.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Dynamite. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We've got high school principals report. Mr. Rasmussen.
Folks, how we doing?
Fabulous, thank you.
You have my report in front of you. I just wanted to highlight a concept I've been thinking about recently. We're continuing to be blessed to hire well. And what I've noticed is when we hire people and we hire well, we give them resources and tools, and I want to thank the district for that. We give them context, we give them the lay of the land, and then we let them do the work. And we just had great results. A couple recent examples. Last year we hired a new business teacher, and it was an opportunity for us to restart our DECA program and our business program, and he is just going gangbusters. We didn't expect for him to do anything the first year. I said, get your feet wet, just start in, and all of a sudden he's just going crazy. So he's got a full classroom of kids, great stuff. And then other things is, we just have people who you let them loose and they just do amazing things. Tony Walisa is putting together a college fair here on this campus, and as of right now, she's crazy. There are over 30 colleges and military branches coming for just our kids. You would go to a regional event up in Portland to get that many colleges in one place, but we have that many colleges coming here because she just hounds them. So we just have these people who are willing to do whatever it takes to make great things happen here at Cascade. And so giving them the freedom, giving them the guidance, giving them the lay of land, telling them what's going on, giving them context, it just works. So I just want to thank you for giving us those resources, even in a tight budget. So we appreciate that. Any questions about the budget? Yeah.
I have a well, first of all, what is the date of the college fair?
I think I put it at the bottom of the. Did I?
27th?
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Also, I'm hearing really positive comments about the no phone rule in classrooms. How do you think it's going?
It's going great. I've been doing this a little while, and the first few years, you follow school policy and take a kid's phone, and parents were like, "You're not going to take my phone." And the last 5 years, I've seen a shift, and in fact, parents are saying, "Please take my kid's phone. I'm sick of their phone." And so the reality is we, shared lots of information this August and into early September, telling them that the policy was there. We were going to be tightening the policy anyway, and the state of Oregon decided to do that for us, which is great. And I haven't gotten one negative comment. I haven't gotten anything. Mrs. Newman, our attendance secretary, we told her the phone calls are going to get up because we've asked families to call in instead of text their kids. Like, hey, dentist appointment, don't forget at 2 o'clock. Well, now we've asked them to call the attendance office. Please send a note. It's a little bit going backwards to old fashioned, just like we used to go get the note. I mean, it's really kind of similar. But the reality is the phone calls are ringing off the hook. And so that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that parents wouldn't sneak in the texts and that kind of stuff. So are there areas that will continue to, and is it the honeymoon? Maybe. Maybe kids will start, pushing the envelope, but we'll take care of it. The classroom is sacred. We want to make sure that that does not bother the classroom at all. We will certainly enforce the rule everywhere, but we're excited about the initial response for sure.
How has the students' cooperation been?
Been great, been great. I look in the hallways at lunch, and the lunchtime for us is hard because we have closed campus. Other schools, kids can go off campus and use their phones, but they can't leave here. And so in reality, we're asking kids not to touch their phone for 7 hours. So, try telling an adult not to touch their phone for 7 hours. It's not happening, okay? So our kids are really doing very well. When kids walk down the hall, I see their phone in their hand, I say, hey, put your phone away. And half of them don't even know that's in their hand because it's become an attachment to their anatomy. The other half look at me and shove it in their pocket and move on. So that's working. But in the classrooms, we had zero issues. We have a strict policy about warning kids and then taking the phone based upon our new board policy. And then this third time, we'll take it and wait for the parents to come get it. So we haven't even had to do that yet. So it's been good. Been good. Real good.
I wanted to tell you one of the comments, and I heard it from 2 different teachers, is they're really noticing how much the students are talking to each other now.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing that each of them brought up.
For sure, for sure. I've heard that a little bit as well, for sure. Yeah, I do lunchroom duty at lunch, and it was noisy a year ago. It's still noisy,
Yeah.
but in other areas, certainly kids are, I think, like, hey, they got to sit down and talk to each other
Right.
instead of text each other when they're sitting right next to each
Right.
other. So
Yeah.
So I've got one question on
Talk
the
to me.
report. The Cascade Leading the Way, it references, it is moving up Bloom's taxonomy. What is Bloom's taxonomy for those here who don't know?
Bloom's taxonomy is a way of higher order thinking, and a lot of times we just stay at the low levels of information and asking kids to compare and contrast but we're asking kids to take information and to analyze and to synthesize and to apply information, and that's the next steps because in the world of AI and the internet, we can all get the information, okay? It's really what we're going to do with that information, how we're going to process it, how we're going to think about it, how we're going to synthesize it. And we've got to be able to do that well, and we want kids to be able to do that well because, you can find just about anything you need to know factually. But the answer is, what can I do with those facts now? What can I put them together in some kind of a concrete plan or a brand new thing, a creative item or something. So that's really what our goal is, the moving up the chain for sure.
Thank you. I read that term and thought, I have no idea. Maybe I missed the announcement on that one.
Ed Psych, you missed it a while ago. That's okay. It's all right.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Rasmussen.
You bet. You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, junior high principals report. Ms. Leday, welcome.
That's way tall, and I am not. Good evening, and I am just super happy to be here. The junior high has started off super strong. We ended the year strong. I hope you got to see my test scores. I'm super proud of my staff. Holy cow, they rocked it. Between state test scores and iReady, we made huge gains, and I think we're about back to where we started pre-COVID, and we were doing great as a junior high, and then COVID hit, and the world fell apart, and we're finally back to where we used to be, so it feels good in that building. We hired a new 6th grade staff super late in the game, and bless her heart, she came to us, and she's taught high school, and now she's got 6th graders, and she's like, I love these little guys. I raised my hand to ask them to be quiet, and they are. She goes, if I could have done that with juniors and seniors, holy cow, my world would have been great. Our popsicle party open house was hugely successful. 74% of the kids walked through our doors that day. It was insane. I've never seen so many people ever, but it was phenomenal. We're up 20% from last year. Sports, huge numbers, started about 2 weeks ago. They started with conditioning for a couple days during the pre-week, and we started sports day 1 last week. huge numbers. We actually have multiple volleyball, soccer, you name it. Numbers are just big. And granted, the junior high is big. We have about 660 kiddos moving through the halls. Lots of support needed for combos. Thank you, Olin, for coming and bailing us out all the time with lockers that are quote unquote jammed or not working. Our club started today. They were a little sparsely populated, but we know that's going to kick up. And I talked to my counselors, and they're doing something that was super cool. They want to meet with every single kiddo in 7th and 8th grade, and they're doing a 1-minute survey with those kids to kind of, how are you doing? Who are you? Especially for our new ones. We have 45 new students in the junior high this year, but every single kid they're sitting down with and getting a one-on-one connection with right out of the gate this week. So I'm like, what a great way for kids to get to know a staff member and a face and everything, and vice versa, for us to know who's somebody that we might miss otherwise. So, yeah, it's been great. Any questions?
Is the one-on-one just with the new students, or it's?
Every
everybody
single
behind
kiddo.
that?
Yeah, they're hitting
that's
all the
good.
math classes because all 7th and 8th graders have math every single day. So they're pulling kids in 1 minute and in and out. Mr. Rosa, one of our counselors, said, super sad today, a kiddo brand new to us came from a Salem Kaiser school. Mr. Rosa was the first staff member ever to have a one-on-one conversation with him. Yeah. A 7th grader. So we're like, we got to find that kid and make sure adults are making connections with him. So he sees seen. Because, and I think as a junior high, we tend to see kids, but I don't want anybody to be missed. So, yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions before I go? Okay. I have 2 questions for you.
Good.
One, on the number 3 here, it says, state test scores iReady. And it says, a year ago, our science scores were 9 points below state. However, this year, we beat the state by 11 points. Why? What changed?
Well, I got coaches that are teaching the class now. We did a huge alignment. We did a big adoption, so the adoption was great. Looked at what the state is asking for our kids to be tested at in 8th grade, and that was actually being taught 7th grade, so we made some adjustments in who is teaching what and when. And then I have coaches that are, teaching 8th grade when they take the test, and so they were all, bent that their kids were going to make good gains, and they brought in
So
the
they're prepared a
incentives.
lot more for
They
it.
were, and they provided incentives, and junior hires will work for incentives, let me tell you. So Cal asked us if they made a certain percentage, they got a pizza party. So that was enough for 8th graders to, and pizza's cheap for us to show what the kids truly can do. And that's the bottom line, if you give them a big enough, ticket, then they're going to show you what they can do. I mean, look at the English for 7th grade. I mean, granted, the incentives were a little out there, but it worked, and I had 55% of the population pass.
Right.
So,
Wonderful.
yeah, it's pretty
Okay, so the
impressive.
other part of my question
Yeah.
is, and I don't know exactly where it says in here, but you sent 11 individuals to San Diego for a,
For Avid,
right. Can we put our finger on something that they all took away from that? Did everybody come back with some gain?
yes, they really, this year, the focus was on critical reading strategies, so definitely bringing back, and that's what we're going to focus on as staff, how to get all kids engaged to reading content right out of the gate, because all of us have taken college level courses, and you skim the stuff, and by the time you're done, you have no idea what was read. So we want to make sure kids are actually engaging with the text that they're reading, so that when they have to do it on their own later on, that they can access the information. Multisyllable words are super hard, especially for our English language learners and our special ed kids. We need to make sure they know what those words are before they start reading, because if they have no context or they don't understand what the word is, they're not going to be able to understand the context that they're reading. So really kind of making sure that they're engaging and comprehending what's being read.
So a hard answer on this, was there value in sending 11 people to San Diego?
Definitely, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was, yeah, I think probably one of the better ones, and I've been to about 5 now, and probably this one was one of the best ones since the very first one I went to. So,
Excellent. That's
yeah,
good to hear.
yeah, I would
Okay.
agree.
Good.
Thank you. Any
Any other
others?
questions?
Good job.
Great,
Thank
thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on. We've got elementary principals report, and it looks like it's going to be Mr. Spencer. Welcome.
Good evening. Just wanted to start by saying it's been a wonderful start to the school year at Almsville. We have just a few new staff members, and they've really hit the ground running. One teacher who worked for us previously as an IA stepped into 3rd grade, is doing a wonderful job. And we've got 2 long-term subs who are doing just fantastic work right now, so just wanted to mention them. Our numbers are a little higher than we left the year last year, which isn't a bad thing, unless you're talking to my fifth grade teachers sometimes when they're packing 32 kids in a classroom, but they're doing it with smiles on their faces. So, yeah, fifth grade and third grade are our largest grades, but our teachers are doing what they can with the space that they have, and I just ordered some more chairs from William just the other day, and so we've got the things we need to educate those students. So it is nice to see. Although our numbers are growing, we do have some space for them. And then we were a little worried about kindergarten levels, as Mr. Joel had mentioned a little earlier, but our numbers came in 10 higher than this time last year. So we're just right at 84 right now. So that's better news than where we were last year. We thought we were going to be on this downward trend in kindergarten, but we've got 10 higher than this point last year. So that's good to hear. Some other things. Our goals for the year, we also sent a group of teachers and administrators to Avid in San Diego, and they came back with 3 goals for us to focus on this year. One of those is to build our academic stamina. Another is to incorporate the 5 phases of note-taking in our interactive notebooks. We've been doing interactive notebooks now for about 4 years, and so we're just adding, we call it plus oneing, so just adding something to what we're already doing to make it better. And then the last goal is to build our students' inquiry levels. So there's a plan in place for us to provide professional development for teachers on those, and then also discuss that throughout the year each trimester. The last thing I wanted to chat about was in August, Mr. Dyer called together, I say he put up the bat signal, and all of the ELA committee gets together. And we came together to discuss, all 3 elementary schools, to discuss something called common formative assessments. And this is a great way for us to get on the same page as a district, truly. And it's not a huge lift. What we're doing is we're implementing 2 different formative assessments during the school year, in first trimester and in second trimester, and this is a great way for us to come together as all elementary teachers and discuss data and talk about what's going well in our buildings, and just begin that conversation for us to move the dial on English language arts. So that's what I've got for my report. What are some questions for me?
Can you expand on grow academic stamina?
Yeah, I think a big piece of this for me was truly when we get into state testing season, students often don't have the stamina to sit at the computer screen and get those tests done. So for me, this was one area that I really wanted to explore a little bit more this year. There's other pieces to it as well. We need kids to be ready to make the transition to the junior high. We need kids to be able to read for at least 15 minutes. I stepped into a 5th grade classroom today, and I try to sneak in so kids don't see me, and sometimes teachers don't even see me, but Bailey's getting better at that. And I'll just sneak in, I'll try to sit down, and I'll just pick up a book and start reading. And I did that today in 5th grade, and not a single 5th grader looked at me. They were immersed in their books, and they read for 15 minutes straight. I don't even think, in the years that I've been at Almsville, I could say there's been a 5th grade class the second week of school that has read uninterrupted for 15 minutes. So that's kind of what we're wanting, is to make, even though it might be a little hard, we lean into that struggle and we can persevere through it and build that stamina that we as learners, individuals, can do a good job, and we can read for 15 minutes, or we can sit down and take that state assessment in the fall that might take a little bit longer. Did that answer your question?
It sounds like an attention span.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe the phone rule might possibly help with that?
We
concept?
have not allowed phones at Almsville altogether anyway, so the phone
Okay,
rule,
So that's not really
yeah,
changing your
not for
world.
us.
Okay.
I guess
Yes,
I
sir.
find it interesting you're saying that kids don't have the stamina to sit in front of a computer screen for 15 minutes.
Preferred versus non-preferred activities
Got
would
it.
be my response to you.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. Wait a minute, time out, hang on.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. I do have one more question.
Yes, sir.
though, And actually, it's on number 2 there, right behind the academic stamina. Can you explain to me the 5 phases of note-taking in Abbott?
Of course I can.
Please do.
I prepared for you. So the first thing we ask kids to do is take notes. Then we want them to process their notes, then connect their thinking.
Are you cheating?
I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. I should have written it on my hand. So the next thing is connect their thinking, summarize and reflect, and apply their learning. one thing that I noticed when I was teaching, we did a really good job of doing the first couple of things. You take your notes, you might have them review it later on in the period, you might do an assignment where they need to reference it, but then it's done. And so the goal of 5 phases of note-taking is that we're constantly looking through it. And especially in the later years when I was teaching here at the high school, I did a much better job of incorporating the 5 phases where I'd have kids for the start of the period, they would go through their notes from the week before, they would highlight things, they would write their own study guides, stuff like that. So we're very excited to do something similarly in our interactive notebooks at the elementary level where we don't just take the notes and leave them and maybe look at them every once in a while or before a test or something like that, but we're working with them continuously.
And what subjects do we find the most benefit with Avid? Is it all subjects? Is it, better in English? Where have we seen the biggest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think your answer might change a little bit depending on the grade, but I think some areas where we've seen success specifically is in math. There's a lot of vocabulary and formulas and things to write down there. We also use ELA in English Language Arts, and those notebooks get a little thicker because we're giving them lots of papers to put in there and stuff like that, so it does require a little more organization. And then one thing that I've seen some grade levels do is use them during SEL times, so that's our social emotional learning, so opportunities for kids to talk about community circles, or they're working on maybe this character trait this month, and here's what this character trait means, like grit, for example. And so they would do all of that work in an interactive notebook. Bailey, did I miss anything?
No, that was great.
Thank you. Okay. Bailey is one of our visiting 4th grade teachers right now.
Nice. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Fabulous.
Anything
Thank you for
else?
that answer.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank you. 4G, Plant Operation Manager's Report. Mr. Lule, are you
Mr.
here?
Mr. Lule cannot be here tonight. He had a situation with family, so you've got his report in front of you. It's got a long list of stuff that they've been working on over the past few months. If you have any questions about that, I can say something, but the perfect situation is that Olin's sitting in the front row. And he has seen every bit and piece of this process. So Olin, thanks for coming tonight. That worked out.
Olin, are you prepared to answer questions?
Only the ones I know.
Smart move.
That's a good answer.
Here's the thing about it. The upside is by not having a seismic grant this summer. We've been having them, I think, 3 out of the last 5 summers. By not having those this year, we've been able to focus on all the nooks and crannies of lots of things that needed to get taken care of. And just lots of, it feels like, you got the whole summer, and the moment summer hits, these guys are just running, flying, taking care of stuff. Anything that pops up, and of course there's all kinds of things that pop up, you're already starting to get ready to all the fields for the fall. Oh, and by the way, Olin also happens to take care of the over 60-year-old pool, and that's a difficult task because it's 60 years old. And so there's a bunch of things that we just kind of walked through the process with, and a lot of stuff got done this year. We'd like to be able to say we added lots of extra air conditioning and lots of other flooring, but we just didn't have those kinds of funds. What we did do is get a lot of things cleaned and a lot of stuff taken care of and get ready for this upcoming year, and that's really appreciated. Any questions on that?
Thanks, Olin.
So I will ask a question.
Yeah.
So, and this is just your opinion, what is something deferred that we need to maybe be focusing on in the next 12 months from a maintenance perspective? Something that we've just kind of been punting on that we're running out of opportunities to look away on?
Well, my big,
Hey.
well, with fall coming and winter coming, something that always, I'm sure you could ask any principal here, the one thing that always seems to pop up is leaky roofs. And that is, and then when spring comes, it's AC.
Yeah.
So that's the one, it's an expensive project. It always is. I think we've done a good job of identifying like the worst areas and trying to take care of the worst areas as best we can, but it's a constant thing, which is why I hope if we go out for a bond that
Lots of new roofs.
roof projects are in that bond.
All right, fair enough. Any other questions? No. All right, thank you for your input. Moving on, we've got discussion, personnel, staff resignations. I don't know who's doing those.
New staff recommendations, yep.
Is
You
that
got
what
it.
we're on?
Recommendations.
Yeah, new staff recommendations.
You're on, sir.
All right. We don't actually have any resignations to bring you this
That's a
this time around.
resignation? I meant recommendation.
We have recommendations though
Pardon
for
me.
you
Let's
this
hear
time
it.
around. We actually have 10 of them today for you. Sounds like a lot, but it really is more than it is. And the reason why I say that is 6 of these 10 are PERS retirees that are coming back. This is just approving temporary contracts for them. The other 4 are temporary teachers as well, filling in for teachers on leave. This situation that we talked about earlier tonight. So it's really not a cause of a resignation or someone leaving Cascade. One is an avenue of those coming back to continue to teach. And a PERS retiree, that's a lot of experience you're putting back in front of a kid to do that. So we have 6 to bring you there tonight. And then we have those 4, like I said, that are here for leave situations that are temporary teachers.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Questions? Nope. All right, thank you. Next is the 25-29 collective bargaining agreement. Mr. Weeks.
Yeah. I'll just hang out here for a little bit here on the next few topics with you.
I would like you to go sit down and then.
I can do that. Be a little bit of that, like the Chuck E. Cheese game, that goes with that. So first one that we have for you here tonight on the agenda is we have the Cascade Education Association Collective Bargaining Agreement. So that was with our teachers. That one wrapped up just at the end of the school year. That one ratified by the association during the in-service week, so teachers voted that one through. It's a 2.5% cost of living increase or salary increase over 2 years, the first 2. And it's a 2.5% insurance tier increase as well for the teachers for those over the 2 years. And then there's a reopener after 2, which allows them to talk then about salary, insurance, and then amendments to up to 3 non-economic articles. So it's a 4-year contract overall.
Any questions? Nope. All right, thank you. We'll move on to the 25-27 collective bargain agreement, OSEA.
All right, that one just wrapped up here just at the end of, I believe it was the end of July, that one wrapped up with the Oregon School Employees Association. That one is a 2-year contract with a 3% cost of living increase or salary increase over both years, and then a $50 insurance cap each year, so 50 this year and 50 next year. And then a full reopener for successor bargaining after 2 years.
Questions? All right, thank you. We'll move on to board policy updates, immediate adoption. Mr. Weeks.
All right, the next one we have for you, we've talked a little bit about this one already tonight, and this is the cell phone policy. So this is the one that came through the governor's executive order earlier this year that was put forward. So what we have seen is actually a lot of success for this one already, as we talked about that all previously in tonight's meeting. This policy in particular that we have is one that we've started to adopt right now in terms of using to see how it works as we bring it to you tonight. By the executive order, it has to be approved by the board by the end of October. We wanted to get it going first because we know if you get something going strong right away, then it has the success possibility to keep going. If you wait too long, then it's tough to change mid-course and make that mid-course adjustment. So we started right away, seen a lot of success. It's not a lot of change for grades K through 8. You heard Zach mention earlier that they already didn't allow cell phones at Almsville, and that was standard at Cloverdale, it was standard at Turner, and it was also at the middle school, or junior high, and it was also Cascade Opportunity Center. They did not allow cell phones either. So the biggest lift of this is the high school. So our Cascade High, and they've done a tremendous job lifting this and getting going on that already. It is a bell-to-bell ban by the executive order that's in here for that. And then there's also an administrative rule that you'll see in there as well. And that's in there because we do know there are circumstances where kids do require a phone, usually for medical purposes, that fall under like a 504. An example of that would be a student that might have a type 1 diabetes who manages a blood sugar through the phone. So that AR is a process for them to ask for an exception to the cell phone policy to carry that phone with them to monitor their levels of blood sugar or other conditions that might be there. But that comes, what we're asking is through a 504, section 504, which is then a medical documented case.
Okay. Any questions? Nope. Okay.
We want to make sure, because the vote, we're going to need all 5 votes tonight to make it immediate with regard to this policy. It's a policy that looks similar across the state. Some districts are using pouches, some districts are trying a different way. What our administrators really came up with was this conversation around, hey, we really believe we could have a conversation with our students and say, hey, like Pete said earlier, this is not for you. You please put the phone away. if we end up with somebody, particularly at the high school, that is in that place where you just argue with them constantly. So many moons ago, when we had the no hat policy, a long, long time ago, remember that, Spencer?
I do.
If you had somebody who, you ended up talking with 40 times, then maybe you're talking about some level of consequence. But, our goal at the moment is to try to educate. Pete and his staff have done a great job of being able to get out and say, from bell to bell, you can't have your phone. And like you've heard this evening, it's gone really well.
So like other districts are doing the bag thing, I've been reading.
They're using the
about that.
pouches, right? I
That's
know.
gonna be a nightmare logistically.
It is, and it's just, it's very costly.
Right.
I have had good conversations with North Clackamas School District a year ago, Clackamas High School. They've got 2,500 kids in their building. They decided to go without cell phones, and they went with the pouch, right? That building alone spent almost $20,000 just on the pouches. And they did see what Pete talked about earlier, which is a lot more conversations. The lunchroom was a lot louder, those kinds of things. I think the opportunities to re-engage kids for the right reasons, right, are there. But, Pete and his staff really felt like, hey, we can just have a real conversation with our kids, and we could get a lot of kids to say, okay, we hear what you're saying. So that's why we're asking tonight for the immediate process.
And I think part of the reason we've seen it be so successful too is we were very conscientious to bring the principals in to develop this policy with them. They're the ones that know the building and the kids and what's going to be successful. So really working with having Pete and others, Marie, Debbie, present to be able to go through that and say, this is what's going to work for us. And how do we make this policy work? That's not a huge deviation from what we already do, but we'll also support our kids in our community that works for Cascade.
Fabulous.
I think it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions on the cell phone policy? No? Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, informational items. It looks like we've got a coach advisory list. Mr. Drill.
Yep, so every season, right, we start with this process. This is the beginning of the process. It shows for you there all the people that are getting some sort of stipend with regard to activities and/or athletics. We go through that. You heard tonight we've had some advancements with regard to how many kids we try to play. Our goal is if we have enough kids, we try to add coaches so our kids can be out doing an activity. And what Pete or Debbie in our elementaries probably haven't said tonight is, again, please be reminded that, this K-12, I can't think of another district our size that offers this many activities. When somebody said to me, we have a homework club, we have a quilting club, for a while we were racing electric cars out there, I'm like, Jennifer, my secretary who's not here tonight, and Lisa, we're like, everybody gets a stipend. That's what it feels like a little bit. But the goal is to make our kids interested and connected. Like Debbie said earlier, the counselors are going to talk to every one of those kids. I know in the high school, our counselors get to every one of the kids too about where they are, what's going on. It's a standard process at the elementary school. We know what's happening. Our goal then was to connect kids to the fishing club and the junior high, right? All the things that we have going on. Our goal is to just not miss a kid. And when we feel like when we don't miss a kid, then the kids can be successful and we catch issues a lot quicker. So this list kind of shows that, and lots of things, lots of places for us to grab onto. You notice on this list the Health Occupations Club advisor. I don't know about you guys, but at my age, when I go see a doctor or somebody, I swear to God, there's a Cascade graduate sitting somewhere, either in the room as an RN or as somebody doing the coding. That has been a long tradition, Ruth, as you know, out here. We have had a lot of kids doing that work over the years, so it's kind of hard to walk in there. It's a little embarrassing if you got to go for a colonoscopy, but, I'm glad those students are here and taking care of us, so we'll go from there. Any questions on that?
I want to make one comment real quick.
Yeah.
He's not here, but Mr. Brill does the FFA advising.
Yes.
And I was at the county fair, the livestock auction this year, and that man doesn't sit down, he doesn't take a break. He was going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and so he does a fabulous job.
And my understanding, and Pete probably can say that, was state fair as well. I mean, there's just 30 days in there.
He's just on a tear.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Lots of kids connected.
Thank you,
So,
Mr. Brill.
it's been a long time since we had a llama run across the football field during a game. I was out to watch that once, but the goal is, again, keep our kids very active.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'll add to that. I appreciate this a lot, and I know it's not easy for all these people to put in the extra work, so. it's
They do the
appreciated a
extra
lot.
work, we got to figure out a way to fund it, but Aaron, I agree with you. I think that's what makes it, everybody'd love to say we're unique, but I think that does help us a little bit, right? Trying to try to get kids connected. That's the goal, so I
Well,
appreciate
School's a
that.
lot more than just sitting down in a classroom all day long.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, appreciate it.
Cool. Anything else? All right, thank you, Mr. Drill.
Yep.
Moving on, we've got program report, restraint and seclusion. Mr. Drill.
Yep, I am doing this tonight. Ms. Johnson could not be here, but by law, we need to hand you the school reports here with regard, let me double check, make sure I got it right. I think this is seclusion one, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, yep. So restraints and seclusion report, Ms. Johnson has talked about that before in our special services reports. But as you can see, we've done a lot of work with regard to training our special education teachers and instructional assistants. And we don't have a lot of that process. We want to make sure from a safety perspective, not only for our students, but for our staff, that it's important we go through that process. And I have asked Ms. Johnson to make sure that if we have an issue, that we get on it right away. The beauty of being smaller is that we can have those conversations quickly. So that kind of shows you the report for the year. Any questions?
Questions?
Ms. Johnson also said if you have them, she's happy to answer. I can give you this much, she can give you a much better, more complete answer.
Nope.
Okay?
Sounds good. We'll move on to the ELL report. Mr. Dyer, welcome.
All righty, how's it going, guys?
Fabulous.
Good, how are you?
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me today. I got a couple of reports today, more compliance reports, just to make sure that you guys get the information. The state says that you guys need to see this information. We need to make sure it's public knowledge, that people know of some of the good things that are kind of going on across the state and as well as in our district. So the first one that you guys have is the EL report. I included the state report, and that's a kind of a fun read if you ever want to pick that up and kind of go through all the ins and outs of ELD throughout with English Learning Development throughout the state of Oregon. I kind of made a summary through kind of the 5 major points of what the state report was kind of going through. And then I really also wanted to go on top of that was just how does that compare to what's happening at Cascade? So first off, you need to know that at Cascade, I feel like our staff is doing a phenomenal job with our English learners. We have phenomenal staff going from K to 12. At the elementary schools, we have at Almsville, Tony Pasillas, Stud, we have Celeste Starr. At Turner, we have Katie Gulsdorf, which, by the way, kind of cool, all roads come back to Cascade. Her dad was Dan Johnson, the custodian, and so she came back a couple years ago, and so she's back here at Cascade. I think that's like the coolest thing ever. And so, but anyway, they do a phenomenal job. And then when you get to the junior high, we have Jackie Everett, and then at the high school, we have longtime Katie Rojas. One thing I'm going to talk about this throughout the night, not throughout the whole night, but throughout my reports at least, all right, is the fact of this K-12 continuum. Is one thing I love about Cascade, and a lot of you guys ask me what's the biggest difference between being a principal and being here. I get the joy of seeing kids K through 12. I get to see them at the very beginning and at the very end. And so when we have newcomers coming in kindergarten or first grade, they speak very little English at all. And then all of a sudden they're graduating high school and they're graduating with honors. They're valedictorians and they're just doing amazing things and going on and going to college. And that is the work, the vertical alignment that this staff does. This last year we developed a brand new EL plan. We were actually a pilot within the state, one of, I think, 13 districts that did it. And so everybody else is doing that this year. And this is how we operate and what we do to help kids. And so that was really cool. Another thing with a lot of times when we talk about the funding from this, we're funding from general funds, Title III specifically. We have Title IV and also SIA. And it's like kind of this wraparound funding for these students. We do after-school programs. We started doing field trips. We started doing cultural events. Actually, Mr. Rasmussen is working on one in April. And we're going to have a big cultural event here at Cascade. And so we're really super excited about that. So that is kind of where we're at. Do you guys have any questions about EL program?
So is the typical EL student, are we talking like kindergarten, first grade? I mean, do we have
No.
all through?
It's
all grades?
it's everywhere, so it depends on how they kind of go through. So when they first come in, we have something, it's called the ELPA test, and it's like basically an English proficiency test. And they take it so that sometimes they're level 1, 2, 3, or 4. After they're a 4, then they test out of it. So you could have a brand new 8th grader and they're a level 1. And they really don't, they're a newcomer, they don't know a lick of English. And so we have a program where we teach them like how to ask to go to the bathroom, how to check up, how to book, how to order food, how to do all that kind of stuff. And then as they progress through, they take the ELPA each year. Actually, they take it at the beginning of the year and in mid-year. And then they progress and we move them up levels that way.
What do we expect for kids to go through from level 1 to level 4? Is it a year? Is it a 4-year? What do we, if we had to throw a dart, what's our expectations for?
That's a really good question. I mean,
Typical.
honestly, typical, depending, a lot of times the elementary kids learn faster.
Right.
Just because they're like sponges
they're
at that
more
age.
easier.
I've seen kids move from 1 to 4. Honestly, I don't have an answer. I'm going to get back to you on that, because I don't want to give you BS on that one, because
It
really.
also depends how much they've had in their own home country.
Right, right.
That they've
Yeah.
done with minimal from their home country, trying to learn.
Versus zero.
English on top of
Yeah.
is a much harder.
Yeah.
process for them.
So there's so many variables, right? That's
Yeah.
the problem with my question, is
Well,
there's so many variables.
And then a lot of times it has to do with parent
Right.
support, everything, how
Watching
committed.
Sesame Street at home. just-
There is, but honestly, that's an interesting question. I would like to see how a typical growth and where it kind of goes through. I would really say 4 years, I think, as they're kind of going from 1 to 4. I think that would be a good guess.
Right. Okay.
But,
No, that's fair.
again, yeah.
That makes me think,
Oh, no, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
How many languages do we have here
16?
at Cascade? What?
16 languages?
What?
It depends, like we have, there's some random, because they have small ones, so we have Ukrainian, Russian, Mandarin, I can't even name them all, but there's Cantonese is a brand new one we just found out. And that, we were just looking for translations. Hmong, Russian, I always said Russian, Spanish, English, I don't know, there's a bunch of them. And it's small, I mean, there's a bunch of them. And again, a lot of times, and that's what makes it so hard, is for the teachers, and when we have these teachers going in, is sometimes it's a one-off. And then so we have to make sure that we're finding translations for that. How do we translate for that? How do we make sure that we're going here?
We
in
can't have
services?
staff that speaks every one of those languages.
No. So like, we just had that one with Cantonese, and so we actually were using Google Translate, which
Right.
is, just came on this year, actually. And so we kind of got that. And we also have a service called Linguava, and so we can get in-person people here. We can also get telephone or teleconference for that to happen. Yeah. So it's really amazing to see what kids, and, yeah. Aaron?
You brought up a thought for me. Does this program purposely involve the parents, or is it like 100% focused on the kids, and then hopefully the parents come along? Does that make sense
No.
what I'm trying to?
Yeah.
Like, is there some way we pull the parents in to help them help the kid? Or is
Yeah,
it just
so
us and the kid?
the answer is yes, we do pull the parents in, and that's true with any student, any typical students. We always going to partner with the parent no matter what. But here, yes, we do. Last year, we started a new program at the junior high and the high school, which it was the night before conferences, and we had EL night, and they came in and they got their progress reports. They got to meet with their case manager. They signed up for field trips. We talked about some different field trips, and we brought the parents in, and that just really opened things up. We all offer translations, but again, it's a lot of communication. So when we talk about the teachers and what they do, a lot of people always just think it's like, oh, it's just what they do from, 7:30 to 3:30. These people are staying late. They're doing emails. They're contacting parents. They're having nights coming in. They work above and beyond to make sure that they're connecting with these kiddos. And again, the results show. So like our graduation rate for our English learners is just at typical with our typical kid. Actually, I want to say it's a little bit higher. Pete, is that right?
I'd have to look.
Yeah, I want to say it's either at par or right there. The new numbers haven't came out this year, but looking at it, the prelim numbers are showing that they're graduating just at the same rate as our typical students, so which is really cool. Yeah, it's an amazing program, and just amazing people what they do.
A lot of times the parents don't speak English either, so
No.
you're trying to
Right,
pull
that's
the
my
parents in,
point,
yeah.
right, and they need,
It's, like I said, it's just, and like I said, they want the best for their kids.
Yeah.
Those kids are hard workers, and it's just an amazing program. Yeah, any more questions about EL?
Anything else? Nope. Thank you, Mr. Dyer.
Yep, I'm back up here again
All
next.
right, now we've got the title report. Mr. Dyer.
Yeah, so the next program I really get to talk about, and when I talk about that continuum, is the title programs. And so I kind of gave you a brief overview of all the different title programs that we have. Tonight, I really wanted to focus us on one, which is Title I. Our Title I is primarily focused in our elementary school around our reading programs. And so it's specifically around reading, our small groups, RTIs. When you kind of look through there, we have one full-time teacher. I think we have something like nine and a half equivalent interventionists that work with students in small groups. And what I really want to talk about is this continuum, because we set the stage at the elementary school for the high school, the junior high, and the high school. And a lot of times when people start talking about, is it a successful program? And when you look at the elementary, it's like, yeah, we're looking here by the end of fifth grade, usually it's like 68% of our kids last year were at grade level just in reading, which is phenomenal. But then our OSAS scores, our state test scores, were kind of lower. And they're like, okay, what's going on there? What's happening? But then they get to the junior high, and then they grow. And then we get them to the high school, and they do a phenomenal job at the junior high. But then we get to the high school, and they grow even more. So last year at the state level, we had 68% of our high school students passing their English language arts state test, which is 60, that's almost 70% of our kids passing. When you compare that to the state, which is 48%, we are 20% higher than the state average when it comes to state testing around English and literacy and the ELA program that we have. And again, that didn't start just in high school. By the way, the high school English department is phenomenal. The junior high is phenomenal, and all the way down to elementary. And to see the progression from a kindergartner that's using ABCs all the way up until high school is amazing. And again, it starts here with the strong foundation of foundational reading skills, and that's what the Title Program 1 really supports.
So let me go back to this, what you just said. So the high school was at 68%, you said, and
Yeah.
the state was at?
48.
So what does the state, I guess, expect us to be at? What do they want? I mean, you tell me what we scored at and what the state scored at, but what does the state want the kids at? They wanted 100, but that's not really.
We should really be around 75%. I think 75% is really a realistic goal for all the way around.
For everybody, and
Yeah.
so frankly, we were a little below that, but
Yeah.
the state average is grossly below that.
Yeah, grossly
Okay.
below. Yep.
So part two of that question is, now that we know this number, what does it mean to us?
What does this mean to us?
Yeah, what do we do? What do we care?
Why do we care?
Yeah, what are we gonna do now that we know we're at 68%? What are we gonna do different or change or celebrate? What does that number mean to us and what do we do with it?
Well, we might look at, one, I'm interested in the other, 20, 23%. But that's not right, 28, I don't know, whatever, I'm not good at math. I'm not a math person. You know what I'm talking about. So, whatever, Will, what is it? That's kidding. Anyway, but when we look at it, I'm interested to see what population is not passing. Why is that happening? Why are we not sending them out there with the skills that they need to be proficient as far as the state is telling us? So I want to attack that population, and we want to kind of go after that population to see what we can do to help them. When we start looking at ELA, so like when Zach was talking about academic stamina, that was one of the things that came out of that. It's like, okay, we know, because when you look at Zach's scores at Almsville in the way of reading, they're doing great. They're reading. They fundamentally can read solid.
Right.
But then all of a sudden we get the OSAT, what's going on? Well, maybe they need some more academic stamina. Maybe we need to attack. Maybe we need to give these kids some different tools. And those are some types of some things that kind of happen.
And I'm not beating you up on this. I know
No, I
we
love
do a
it.
lot of testing and I'm always trying to wrap my head
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
I don't want to take a test just for the sake of testing. What do we do with that information once we get it?
That's what we look at it and we see where can we improve our instruction on.
Right.
And so again, it could be there. And then the other thing too, I'm a firm believer of this, I'm a competitive person, is it's a sense of pride. I like the fact that we are 68% and we're getting to that point and we're 20% higher than the state average. When everybody else is not doing what they need to do, we are doing what we're doing.
Did you point that out to your colleagues when you're in meetings?
Sometimes I do. I'm not going to say that, but I sometimes we pull out numbers, and we were working with Oregon RTI, and they work with across the state, and they were asking, they're like, show me your data. And I showed them the data, they're like, her mouth just dropped. And she's like, All the districts I work with would die to have data like this. This is phenomenal of what you guys are doing in your RTI programs, in your fundamental reading programs, and K-5. I think that's pretty cool. And that happens often in my meetings regionally.
So perhaps a way for me to look at this is reiterating or showing the value of what we're doing all day, every day.
Yeah.
That we're hitting those numbers.
100%. I think that's exactly what that, I mean, it's, yeah, 100%. It's good for staff, like Debbie's 7th grade right now, they've grown a cohort of kids 14% over 2 years. 14%. That's not normal. That's not normal, and she's doing it. And again, when I talk about Pete's English department, like, that's not normal. That's amazing. So, people are timing me right now, so I gotta get cut off.
You keep going.
Okay.
Just having fun.
I can say, Brett, that the upside to having Dr. Dyer in this seat is that competitive spirit, right? So he wants to very quickly, when he comes back, he celebrates these numbers. You know, like, look at this, we're kicking behind here. We're taking names. This is how we're gonna do. And then the next breath, it's, but we can do better. And this is how we're gonna do better. And this is what we're gonna do. And those conversations are just really insightful. There's some competitiveness to it. It's exciting to see that, and our principals and our assistant principals are like, okay, that's nice. We can do better than that. And you really are talking about, you know, we get kids moving in, and they're not just a little behind; they're way behind. And I'm not talking about just, you know, from other places not get it done. We just have families that they're behind. They're behind, and when they show up, they're like, here's my kid, so what do we do? Right? We've struggled, we haven't figured out what's going on with it, what do we do? And, you know, today, right after our meeting, I had an assistant principal say to me, you know, we've got a brand new kid, we can't believe how far behind they came from out of state. You know, here are the things we need to try to do, but we can't overwhelm the kid or the parents right away. But we also know that child's ability to get where Brian's talking about, right, is gonna take 2 or 3 years. You know, if you're talking about one extra lap around the track, that's one thing. This kid's 7 or 8 laps behind, right, and they haven't made it out of elementary yet. So we're gonna need to take the time to get them caught up.
Right.
So, you know, like you're saying, what does that look like? I think those are great benchmarks for us to take a look and say, okay, we're better, but we also know what kind of kids we're getting coming in, and they can be behind. We got some kids that are great, man. They're way ahead. Their parents have done a great job. They ABCs and they're 1, 2, 3s, and that's everything. But go talk to our kindergarten teachers after a couple of weeks. They're going to tell you, we've got some kids that are really struggling.
Right.
So,
Any other questions over that?
I saw Mr. Rasmussen
He was gonna
had
say
something he was going to add.
Just to jump on top of that, the state assessment is a benchmark assessment, not an achievement test. And so because of that, it's just a snapshot in time. And so what it does tell us is that, okay, here's where our kids roughly are at. And what we use that as is like, okay, what can they do? How much further can they go? And so I'll give you an example. This last year, my senior English teachers, we are now teaching writing 121 in every single general English class. And so kids have the option to claim the credit and do the work to get the credit or not. Last year, 54 general ed English 4 students got college credit writing 121 through Western Oregon. Awesome. While our 60 plus advanced placement English language, English lit students got AP tests and got scores there as well. So it's like, it gives you a benchmark as to what's possible. And we know that when we push humans and we give them support, we get results. And so we know that when we call humans, we don't get pushed. We don't get results. And so that idea of that gentle prodding, that gentle pushing, that constructive building that you scaffold things, but not too much. We scaffold things too much and people get dependent on it. So the idea that we're going to throw things at kids and say, push them, make them uncomfortable to a certain extent is going to help them grow. And that's what we use that test for. Because it's not an achievement test. You don't get to take it 3 or 4 times where it was 10 years ago. You can take it 3 or 4 times and we get a pass. Scores were higher then. Well, because it was all about the test. Let's pass the test.
Yeah.
It was no longer about the content. It was about passing the test. So there's pluses and minuses to both options. But anyway,
No, that's fair. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. Thank you.
That's great, yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm back again. I'm back again. There you go. You guys are lucky. Got a lot of Mr. Dyer today.
24-25 Integrated Programs Annual Report Presentation, Mr. Dyer.
All right. Well, this one is going to go pretty quick, and basically, I just need to kind of go over our annual report. I need to talk about some good things when we talk about our integrated planning. So when we talk about integrated planning, we're talking about four pots of money that these are special grants that the state gives us. I've talked to you guys at length with this before in the past. If you have more questions about it, I can kind of get into it a little bit more. But our student investment account is definitely our biggest account. So we're looking at, that's around $2.7 million this year. And then we have our high school success, which is roughly around $785,000. Early literacy is $206,000. And then the early indicators like $8,000, like, hey, do something with this $8,000. And so, but anyway, but again, what we're doing here is each one of these has specific things and targeted that we're trying to get after. And we have the measurements down there. We're looking at longitudinal growth goals. So we're looking at how kids, I mean, what we were at 5 years ago compared to where we want to be 5 years from now. We're looking at local metrics. We're looking at financial reports. We're looking at CTE Perkins performance targets. We're looking at all these different things as we're kind of going through. But so basically, that's how we kind of look at. One of the things that we're looking at is 9th grade on track. And so one, but not all the positive markers, so this is one that's really stands out to me, is we had a growth of 1.8 of all students baseline. They grew, or so 9th grade on track, we grew. And it went, according to state, we grew that way. Actually, we hit our stretch mark, so we even went further than we thought we were going to go with our 9th grade on track. Focal groups actually went up 2.5%. So we talk about focal groups, we're talking about SPED, English learners, they went up 2.5. And so that means we're closing the gap. And so they're growing at a larger rate than our typical student when it talks about freshmen on track. How did we do this? And so I worked with Tony a little bit on this. And so freshman success class each term taught by a freshman counselor. So we're really trying to make that relationship at the high school level, and they're doing a great job. Opportunities for early engagement with freshman year through the freshman welcome week activities. We had a great freshman week. Mr. Rasmussen will probably tell you more all about that. Tony is a powerhouse behind a lot of these activities. And she can tell you a lot, and probably at her next report, but this does a wonderful job. And again, it's everything here at Cascade is all about relationship. We know that. That's our formula. We connect with kids. But again, we making sure that they're connected and they have mentors. Another progress monitor that we have is when we talk about ELA proficiency, especially around 3rd grade level. So right now, we are showing growth. We are growing, but we're not quite hitting our target. We're a little bit behind there. However, when we look at our local reading measures, so when we look at our Dibble scores or Acadians, we're making larger than our growth progress, and so we're actually doing very well. So when we're talking about fundamental reading skills, kind of what we're going on there, they were doing a great job. Some of the barriers that we're seeing is writing. We need to work on our writing a little bit more, and that's the academic stamina. So not only can they read for 15 minutes, but can they write for 15 minutes? A lot of kids, their hands get a little shaky after 5 minutes. They have a tough time doing that. And so that's something that we wanted to kind of work on. Comprehension with longer passages. Kids are really working on short passages. We need to have them read a little bit longer. And then academic stamina, which I'm glad Zach touched on that, so I don't need to go on that anymore, because that's where some things that we're working on. And so here's the other thing, and again, the state's making me do this, so you could thank them. And so as we kind of go, how are activities supporting progress towards targets? How will shifts be made to reach full targets? High school graduation rate and freshmen on track. Again, Tony helped me with this. Our graduation rate was up 1.9. Our freshman on track was up 1.8. Opportunities for students to connect with after-school clubs. We already talked about the clubs, tutoring, outside Cascade, again, building those relationships, building that confidence of outside academic things. We know a confident kid can go on and do some great things, and they feel connected, and they want to be here. ELA, proficiency, again, we were a little bit below from our goal, but our progress, when we look at local things, is we grew 2.4%, which is great. Again, small groups, we're looking at strengthening our RTI groups. We're doing a partnership with Oregon RTI this year. We have novel studies that we're putting in at upper elementaries, and then emphasis on sustained independent writing opportunities.
And we've said it 100 times, but please remember up at the top, right, the graduation rate, 1.9%, that's the highest. We're 95.5 at the high school. But at our Opportunity Center, we're right around, I think it was 60%. So we're talking about our alternative kids actually getting a very high score as well. And then the freshmen on track, we've been above 95% for many, many years, and we continue. After 95%, they really don't mark it. So they leave it above 95%, just to put numbers in our head along that way. So, you know, the margin of error is very thin. If you're talking about 100 or 200 kids per class and you have like 95% graduation rate, that means you're talking, what is that, Pete? Only 7 or 8 kids? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you miss 1 or 2 kids and suddenly your rate drops down pretty quickly. So, you know, it's not like we have 400 kids in the high school per grade. So that number's tough. You really got to track kids down and keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of really good things happening out of the monies that we're using. We are leveraging them to improve the overall experience for kids here at Cascade. And again, I could say what's awesome, the way we have things set up here, in the way Mr. Drill has set it up, and Matt before me, is we really want the money to go to our buildings. And so if you can dream it, let's do it. You want to do a club, let's make this happen. How can we get the money in kids' hands? And so that's really cool to see them take that and go with it. And I just get to say, I get to be the yes person sometimes. So it's just phenomenal work happening, boots on the ground, doing phenomenal stuff. Questions?
Questions?
All right, nobody wants to hear me talk anymore. Nice.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, moving on. We've got 6C, OSBA election nominations are open. Mr. Drill.
Yeah, so every year you get an opportunity to make a decision for Oregon School Boards Association about selecting somebody from this school board to go and be the nominee for our region. You can choose to do that or choose not to. And so that's what that information is about. Secondarily, you also have a nominee here tonight from another school board that I believe when you get to public comment has an opportunity to talk with you about that. So you can go ahead and select somebody from your group. Over the last 15 or so years, we've done that a couple of times. But I also know that everybody's got busy lives, so it requires extra work on your part and more time with Oregon School Boards Association. And then secondarily, like I said, there's information there with another applicant that has come from a different school board to discuss with you when you get to that point.
All right, fair enough. So
Any
with that being
questions?
said, I guess I'll ask, is there anybody here on our board that is interested in running for the OSBA board position? Anybody?
You should do it, Brett.
No. I'm pretty busy that day. But is there anyone else on the board who would be interested in running for said role? Kind of looking at you, Ruth.
I know you are. No, I'd have to think about it.
All right, you think about it. All right, so with that being said, we will move on to public comment. So I'm going to read a few things here. Okay. Please note that it is especially important to remember that we all model the way for our students, and we ask that you share your thoughts in a respectful way. The board chair will ask you to stop speaking if you are not able to adhere to these guidelines. Audience time is not intended as a forum for public debate. At this time, we will allow, let's see, okay, so we have one public comment, correct? All right.
That went through the process.
That went through the process. Okay, so I'm ready. Are you going to speak to us today?
Oh, well, thank you very much.
All right, so I'll warn you up front. First, you have to tell me how to say your name, and you've got 3 minutes, and we got to hold you to that.
Well, my name is Satya Chandragiri. Thank
Welcome.
you very much. Thanks, Chair and members of the board, the Superintendent. I have submitted written comments to kind of gives you a chance to kind of go through. You are a member board from the Marion region, and any member board can nominate a person to the Oregon School Board Association for our Marion region. We need a good representative. My school board has nominated a wonderful candidate. She's a colleague of mine, Karina Guzman Ortiz. And so come to you asking your support so I can also be on the ballot. The initial part is to be on the ballot. And why I think I'll be a better candidate, I have kind of highlighted. I'm a psychiatrist. I've been serving our state for 25 years, all the way from Eastern Oregon, 12 counties, to Douglas County. I actually have a practice in Salem. I'm also a physician in Salem. I got a private practice and ran a couple of things. But the reason I ran for this school board association was in 2018 we had 20 completed youth suicide in Marion County, and so we just put my name in the hat, ran, and that we became one of the first school district to even have a policy on suicide prevention. Before we didn't have. So just an example like that. And having worked in Eastern Oregon all the way from Harney County to Douglas County, I understand the rural and urban. I have put my feet in both places to kind of. Salem is a big school district compared to, but you are doing an amazing job here. But somebody will have to be able to represent the story of small districts and not just the big district and the challenges that we have in a bigger district. We have 13 school boards in Marion region. All of them are small school board. And I really feel I will be in a better position to kind of represent both worlds when we sit in this Oregon School Board Association. Because right now, I don't see that story of the small board. Small schools are represented. One of the small school districts had to go through a significant staff cutting because of the challenges we found after the ESSER dollar went away and the cost of labor went up and the PERS challenges and all the challenges. So the long story short, I really want to go sit in the board. This is my 7th year. And basically, we need to have a real good voice to say that we need to rethink the way we do public school funding in Oregon. We are not even doing a simple costing, how much it costs to educate a child. I heard some amazing programs you're all doing. I wish I could do the same thing in Salem Kaiser and scale it up. We are $1.15 billion budget. But the return on investment in what you're doing is amazing, many, many times over. Yet, this story needs to be told in the Oregon School Board Association, and we need to really rethink the way we fund so that we can protect and use some good benchmarks like what you have. So that is an example of what I believe I will be in a position to represent, having served the rural part of our state and also the large cities. And I come from India, a city called Bangalore, which is like much bigger than our state's population. I'm just giving you an example of perspective. And the second thing is, even though it's 1.15 billion, there's a lot of restricted funds. The unrestricted fund, which the superintendent can use to really create some innovative program, gets our hands are tied. So I think we have to start speaking up, saying we have to review and revise our unfunded mandates that keep getting added. We're talking about a beautiful cell phone policy, but in our school, we're going to spend close to $300,000 on those little pouches. It's like $40 a piece. But you have much saner and simple way of connecting with the kids and really using that as a learning opportunity. But having a pouch, it's going to be like cat and mouse. We're going to be kind of saying, how do we hide the pouch and things like that. Yet, with that 300,000, you can have like 10 different beautiful programs that I can have. But these are the examples of where I think the rural story needs to be incorporated in the OSBA board. And we need to really start asking in a way that how do we have local control, local ability to really be innovative using the dollars that come our way. So that's just an example. And so I have attached the real application along with this cover letter, and I'll be open to any questions that you have. Please seek your support so that I can also be on the ballot, so that is each member board you have at least a choice to make between my colleague Karina Guzman Ortiz, and if you choose to nominate me, at least you'll have something to pick from, rather than having only one candidate in the ballot. And that, I think, is not a very democratic way of solving these issues. And so any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Nope. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Drill, can you give us, real quick up here, a definition or just a real 30,000-foot view of what OSBA does? What these candidates or these?
Yeah, so Oregon School Boards Association is your association for all Oregon School Board members across the state. They guide you predominantly around policy and procedure. You heard Mr. Weeks tonight talk about it. Dr. Dyer has lots of conversations about what the state has to go through, but Oregon School Boards Association, through its members, like you guys, right, and the doctor that just spoke to you, have an opportunity to give you good information about how it is you want to organize and then structure school districts, right? And then also implement by the policy through that process. These positions, right, help guide their staff, just like you guys guide our staff, right, and myself, about how you would like to see schools run.
And how many are there? How many board members are there?
I would say there's 16 to 18. Does
Oh,
that
okay.
sound right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking that way because
Yeah, no,
I know he knows. It's not the organization that most administrators belong to, because so I am not a member of
Right,
that, right?
sure.
So you guys are members
It's
of
more
that.
than 5.
Right, right. So there's 16 or 18 different regions, and they sit with an elected president-elect, president, and a past president, and they help to create policy about how Oregon School Boards Association needs to be run. And please remember, right, there's 197 school districts and a number of ESDs, but a large majority are rural, right? If you think that the average school district size in the state of Oregon is right around 1,500 kids, right? We're actually on the large side, and we think of ourselves as rural. We are actually somewhere around the 50th largest school district in the state out of 197. So we are bigger in many minds to, just locally, like for Amity or Jefferson or, Santiam Canyon, so they're much smaller than we are. So the process, and I think one of the issues that Oregon School Boards Association has right now is the balance between very large districts, Portland, Salem, Beaverton, Medford, Bend, those kinds of folks versus Crane or,
Right.
Cascade or Jefferson or something like that. So the balance is always about that. And I think for the longest time, those members did a pretty good job of balancing it out. But between the politics, between the process, between the issues that have come up around school, that's become harder. It's become harder. And, there are members of school boards across the state that have gotten on for more political reasons than for what most of you guys have always done it, which is just kids. How can we handle the kid process? So I think that process is harder. I think the people that are sitting in those chairs are in a no-win situation. They're stuck between trying to advocate for their school district and all kids in the state of Oregon. But a kid in Portland looks a lot different than a kid here at Cascade and what they need. Right, Portland talks about how it is kids get to school, and they actually use the TriMet transportation to get kids to school. That's, they're like, you put a 7-year-old on a what? Right, I mean, that's just not, but for those parents, that's how they process and move their kids, right? It doesn't always happen that way, but that's just one small thing, He just mentioned about the phone process. How do you manage a school in Salem, a high school in Salem that's got 22, 24, 2,500 kids who can also go off campus, right? Just think about the cell phone policy. It says bell to bell. Well, if your kid can leave at lunch and ours don't, right, because there's nowhere to get to safely in 30 minutes, but if their kids can leave from lunch, they can literally walk across the street, pick up their phone, and show their principal that they're standing across the way and
Because they're off campus.
yeah. Think about that's a whole different set of issues that the administrators have to deal with than what our, I'm not saying it's easier. In some ways, I think Pete's got a problem in and of itself. We've got this entire campus to cover
Right.
and deal with. So that's what OSBA is doing for you, and it's done through the membership. We'll talk about later tonight about going to the conference here in November. Those are just the issues that come up every day, and it's just become very, very difficult. It's a no-win situation.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Dynamite, thank you. Questions on that? Nope, good. All right, moving on. We've got public comment. Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask a clarifying question.
Please.
Is there a resolution regarding overnight trips on your thing?
No.
Can I add a short brief to my report then?
Yeah, because we're gonna
Just some information.
do that next month. Can you do it next month?
I'd like to just announce what it's going to be and then you can do something real quick.
That's up to the board chair.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks, sir. My apologies for that. I have two coaches desiring to take students out of state for athletic event competitions. One of them is our wrestling coach. They're planning to take a trip to Nevada and a trip to California this winter. So we'll give you more information about that. That's a typical, he's a go-getter, he's fired up to have kids do great things. And then we're also privileged to here have our girls basketball coach, Glenn Norris. He is desirous to take his basketball team. He's a first-year guy with us and wants to go to San Diego, California with his pack of girls, so we're excited to have him. So any quick thing you'd like to add to that trip that you're proposing?
I had a whole speech going, but we're on time constraint. Three things I'm after with this trip for the girls, varsity squad only. First of all, I've already talked to parents, players, they're excited, parents are behind it, and financial support in getting it there. So it's not costing any school budget or anything, I'm not asking that. But the three things I'm after is team bonding, right? Getting them out there and getting them together as a cohesive unit. The competition, right? So my understanding, last year we had this tournament down in Southern California, and so we're trying to replace this in Southern Oregon. And just the competition that we are looking for is not there. So we're trying to go out of state and find some good competition. But the opportunity to play in that environment to prepare us for state later is one thing. But the opportunity for young women to experience things outside of this area. I'm guessing there's going to be girls that go on this trip that have never been on a plane, never been out of state, don't know how to deal with certain situations with flights, and mom's not there to help them get prepare their, plan for the day for their foods and their meals, and so just the growth that they will be out there as well.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
one more?
Yeah, please.
It's after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year, so no school.
Dynamite. Okay.
Good catch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for making the allowance. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Appreciate it, thank you. Okay, moving on, we've got resolutions. Hang on, I'm lost for a second. Bear with me, I'm almost there. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, 8A, resolution regarding new hire recommendations.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the following new hire recommendations as recommended by the administration. Taylor Berg, Lori Garcia, Michael Hawkins, Shane Hedrick, Molly Heron, Leslie Hunt, Arnold Lauder, Thomas Potacek, Karen Thompson, and Tammy Walling.
Second.
8A, resolution regarding new hire recommendations has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8B, resolution regarding 2529 collective bargaining agreement with CEA.
Be is resolved. The Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the 2025-2029 collective bargaining agreement with the Cascade Education Association.
Second.
8B, resolution regarding 25 through 29 collective bargaining agreement with CEA has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8C, resolution regarding 25 through 27 collective bargaining agreement with OSEA.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the 2025-2027 collective bargaining agreement with the Oregon School Employers Association, Chapter 131.
Second.
8C, resolution regarding 25 through 27 collective bargaining agreement with OSEA has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8D, resolution regarding board policies.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the following board policies for immediate action. Policy JFCEB, personal electronic devices, and policy JFCEB-AR, request for personal electronic devices exemption.
Second.
8D, resolution regarding board policies has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Can I, we just need to make sure
Yeah.
for this,
Yep.
it's got to have all five
Yep.
votes?
Yep. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. John, I'm going to need you to chime in on this one.
Yeah, aye.
All right, all those opposed, same sign. Dynamite in it, you heard the aye from the phone. Yep, all right, motion carries. Thank you, John. That's all our resolutions. Future agenda items, Mr. Drill.
So in October, you guys normally ask for a number of areas from education to come and give them their yearly goals. We've done that for the last 5 or 6 years. We usually start at 5 o'clock, and there's 5 or 6 areas. My assumption is you would continue to want to do that way?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And
okay.
you're talking like getting all the principals in here so we can
Principals,
talk-
we usually do elementary and
Right,
secondary,
we can talk
and
kind
then
of
we
through.
also do different areas, special
Yeah.
education, finance. Finance is probably an important one in the
Right.
process
Right.
this year. And then back in May, June, you guys talked about bringing all of the board and the
Budget.
budget committee back. Do you want to do that, or would you like to wait while William is working on that process as we go forward, and we can use that, we can use October as one of the areas to discuss, which, because you guys talked about it 6 months or so.
Right, I'm
That would-
afraid that if we're doing the principals on that night, we're not gonna have enough time to squeeze that in, or everybody gets shorted a little bit.
Everybody
That
gets
might
shorted a
be-
little bit.
That might be for another
Okay.
evening to
We
go
can-
early again on
Yeah,
another day.
we can discuss that if
I
you
think
needed
that'd be a
to.
better use of time.
Okay, can do.
But I still think it's valuable, I just am afraid that's too big of an ask for everybody to shoehorn that in.
I would agree with you.
Okay, fabulous.
Okay, and then the final thing is Oregon School Boards Association State Conference is in November. It's the first full weekend in November. I think that's changed now. It's Thursday through Saturday. It's not Thursday through Sunday. So I will check in with each and every person about, if you'll check your schedules, we can get people up to the associate, or to that association meeting for that weekend in Portland.
Fabulous.
That's all I have, sir. So the plan in October would be meet at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock in October, yeah.
And then a regular board meeting at 7.
Then 5 at 7, yeah.
Yep.
And that is the date of, hang on, we're looking at October 13th?
Second Monday, yes, sir.
Yeah. Yep,
You good with that?
dynamite. Works for me. Okay. Anything else, anybody? No? Mr. Drill?
Yes, sir.
Dynamite. Thanks, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Nothing sure, but